there's often the saying, check your bags at the door. And this is actually a time not to do that. We all have baggage. Some of it is good baggage, some of it's overweight baggage, some we can carry at our side and no one can barely see it. But we all have baggage. From our parents, our friends, the schools we went to, the places we travel to. And it's that baggage that shapes who we are. And if we keep that baggage and we always check it and never talk about it, we won't find out what is that baggage doing to others. So that's kind of what we're doing here today. So feel free, not only not to check your baggage, but open it up, spread it out all over the place. Because really, until we really get to know each other, we can't take the next step.
I do want to thank you all for joining us for our first community conversations, discussions that will help us to look at our community and see how we can strive to be better for everyone living here. We need to begin with ourselves, and as a community, that starts today. For today, our goal is simple: getting the conversation started by getting to know our neighbors and the people who live in town, to begin to celebrate the diversity of those that live here, as well as to learn and understand the struggles that community members go through due to their race or ethnicity. We cannot truly begin to learn until we hear what it's like for people to deal with racism, exclusion, or microaggressions. A few weeks ago, Reverend Dunn hosted an event for the First Baptist Church right here on Dodge Field. As we were talking, he told me that one of his goals was to help make the beloved community where neighbors knew each other's names and people did more than just nod and smile as they walked around town. This hit me in the right spot, as I realized that is definitely something I am guilty of. Knowing people is addressing them by name, even if you keep walking. This gave me the idea for community conversations.
I am a professional diversity and inclusion consultant. For the past 30 years, I have worked with Fortune 500 corporations, colleges, and universities to help plan, develop, teach, and lead their managing diversity efforts. We cannot define someone based on how they appear on the surface. We need to take the time to get to know one another and to build a relationship with one another. And that's the work of today. The work of today is to give you a voice and how you are going to help Madison to become a community to which we all can be proud, and we all can say that Madison is a community that embraces diversity. So thank you for being here.
And I introduced myself. And the first thing they told me, I said, oh, my name is Guillermo. They told, I'm Latino, I'm Colombian. Ah, you work at the car wash. That's when they told me. You work at the car wash. Well, I said, no, but I went to school, I went to college. I spent almost 16 years in Colombia to get my degrees and to went back. And I was also a teacher at the level at the middle school in Colombia. When I moved here, also I went to FDU. My daughter, she went to Drew. She's a class of 2005. My son, he went to Boston University. That means to us is to be successful and to encourage. And we can start from the bottom, but we can be successful. In my experience, I do all of this for my family. But now the big example is like the Riveros family. How they do, how they be successful. They got the kids, now they got a granddaughter. But I want to know that it's hard for a Latino community to be successful. But we're working it out. And the point is, thank you so much for letting us know that we are here and we want to enjoy the community and we love Madison so much. Thank you.
Madison is that I'm married to Mark Simmons, your friendly neighborhood UPS man who retired. That's my claim to fame. I am Hispanic. My parents are from Colombia, and I was born and raised on Staten Island, New York. Now I tell you this story because I've been told throughout my life that I am different. And I embrace it. I'm proud of my heritage. I speak Spanish fluently. When I first meet Mark, he's moving to a garden apartment in Chatham, New Jersey, by New Providence. He has an issue with a downstairs neighbor. downstairs neighbor is saying that he's making too much noise. Noise was code. She just didn't like it. We did what we had to do. I helped him out. She eventually moved in the middle of the night. Everything was great. We breathed a sigh of relief. After a few years there, he decided to move in with me in Hoboken, New Jersey. My building was a building of young professionals. No issues with accepting Mark. Everything was great. And then we decided we want to buy a house. Mark says, let's look at Madison, and I said, let's not. I work in New York City. I don't want that commute. I'll go as far as Summit. And we looked in Montclair. We looked in Maplewood. We just didn't like anything that we saw, and the taxes were horrendous. So one day on his route, he finds our house on Ridgedale Avenue. I come to see it, and I said, okay, I'll make the commute. I was apprehensive about moving to Madison, New Jersey, not just because of the commute, but because I'm used to an urban environment. I'm used to stepping out the door and being out in the middle of the action. And I was concerned about moving to a place that was predominantly Caucasian. Not used to it, used to diversity. Mark allayed my concerns. He's born in Madison. He was raised in Madison. He was educated in Madison. He's come back a few times. He left to go in the military, came back, left, came back, left, came back with me. He worked in Madison. What could possibly go wrong? Well, when we moved into our house on Ridgedale Avenue, the next door neighbor was a problem. She went to the police department and said, Mark is looking into my windows from his backyard. Wrong on so many different levels, right? If he was, he probably wanted to redecorate. Fortunately, the police department knew him. I shudder to think what would have happened if the police department didn't know him. He knew everybody in town. When she couldn't get her way with the police and the fire department, she reached out to UPS and said, Mark is opening my packages. What are you going to do about this? Fortunately, UPS has a system that if your packages open up in transit, they document it and they seal it with special tape. So they knew that this was false. She moved shortly thereafter that. I fibbed to the police department when I said I know what it's like to be black in America. I don't. I got a taste of it. I didn't like it. I have seen many microaggressions against Mark in town and in other places, and I have to tell you that whenever I see it, I say something. So, the point of this story is for you also to understand that this stuff can happen in Madison. It happened last decade, but we still have people like Amy Cooper's in New York City who think they can use the police department for their own benefit. By also understanding our story, you can see that this stuff is terrible. And I want you to have not pity for us, because we're grown men, we know what we have to do, but for you to understand that people who are different can be discriminated against. And this was Madison's native son that was being discriminated against, a town that he loved.